Welcome back to another episode of the GSD show. I'm Mike Arce. Okay, here's the scenario. It's COVID time. And in the middle of it, you're dealing with a lot. I'm actually going to tell you what it was, but you'd go from $20,000 in monthly recurring revenue to $70,000 in monthly recurring revenue in 90 days. In 90 days. In the building that you don't actually see is your vision for the building. So you're actually like in transition. And I'm going to tell you how Billy Jones did that. And I'm actually going to introduce you to him. And then I'm going to read you his Facebook post that he posted because I thought it was a great way to intro the story. And then we're going to dive into exactly what you did in order to get there so everyone else can know. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
Billy Jones, welcome to the GSD show.
Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
So you're a listener of the show?
Long time listener.
Yeah. How long would you say?
5-6 years. I mean,
Wow.
as long as the show's been around. At the very beginning, yeah.
So is it cool to be in here? It's cool to have you in here. I got your shirt on.
Man,
you're a celebrity to us.
I'm at a loss for words. This is a huge milestone for me to come full circle, and it's amazing.
Good. Well, here's the post that you put up yesterday at 7:08 a.m. It's 2020. You were forced to close your business for months. And for half a year after the shutdown, you've been stuck at half the amount of revenue you used to do each month and thousands less than your monthly bills. Your landlord tells you you have less than 2 months to find a new location. The only viable place to lease is 5 times more a month in rent. A few weeks after moving in, one day after Thanksgiving, the closest thing you have to a manager quits. What do you do? And then you said, we find out tomorrow on the GSD show.
That's right.
So let's find out.
Yeah.
So when you said your rent, I'm sorry, not your rent, your revenue got cut down even further, what was the lowest it was at?
$19,000.
$19,000 per month. What were your costs at that time?
So rent, obviously, staff. We maintained our core staff throughout the entire shutdown. Marketing. So I was doing virtual, like a 21-day free virtual program. So I had that as well. And, everything from electricity. The bills don't stop just because we're closed, So,
what were your total expenses?
So right at the shutdown, $26,000.
So you were losing $7K per month at the height of it.
Right.
Okay.
That's right.
Did you have that to lose at that time?
Thankfully, we were pretty good about, managing money. And
being conservative. And
yeah, we don't carry a whole lot of debt at all. And you had some savings. So short answer is yes, for a very finite amount of time, a handful of months, right?
It got you through what you needed, which, by the way, that's a lesson in itself. I saw way too many people during a booming economy making money and spending it as fast as it was coming in because to them, the next paycheck was coming again.
Right.
And as a business owner, you've got to make sure that you're aiming to put away a certain amount of money every single month into a savings account. Not necessarily a savings account that you're using exclusively. Like at Loud Rumor, not only do we have a savings account, but we don't really add too much more to it. Just depends on how much our business grows. What we constantly do is we add it into other investment vehicles that could actually be liquidated if I need to without any penalties, right? So whether it's hard money lending or it's any type of investments in stocks, the market, crypto, whatever it is, we will constantly find ways to invest the money we have to get a better interest rate than we'd get with the bank. But we always have that money available because like you, our expenses got cut down to a third of what it was. It was maybe a little bit more or less than a third. So we lost more than 2/3 of our revenue. Like you, we didn't let go of any of our staff. And by the way, I'm not saying that's the answer. I think sometimes you have to maybe cut some people in order to save some people. Otherwise, everyone goes down, right? Mm-hmm. In our case, we didn't have to, fortunately. But if it wasn't for our ability to be responsible like you with money prior to this and be prepared for it, we would have been put out like many others have been put out. I think more than half of the gyms in the country I've heard from Ursa have been put out of business during this time.
Right.
And it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So you were at 19,000. I think the first time I heard your name that I like really heard your name was you had a meeting set up with me and Matt. You had paid to have a meeting with me and Matt Kafora.
Right.
And we got into a room and we actually, virtual room through Zoom. Mm-hmm. We got in a room and we talked through some of the stuff. I think back then you were like at 20,000 or 22,000, something like that. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Right.
And then next thing I know, I hear your name again and you're on pace to do 70,000. Mm-hmm. And it was like 80 days later, 90 days later. What were some of the biggest changes that you've made? What was the switch? Or walk me through it so that if I, let's say, have a gym or someone listening in has a gym and they're in your spot today, help them walk through what you did so they can start following and get there.
So there was a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot to unpack, but we basically used the shutdown as a rebirth. Everything from our logo, the name of our gym, we dropped gym from our name,
Okay.
And we really defined who we serve and almost more importantly, who we don't serve. And the way that we structure our offer, I mean, literally everything changed. The staffing, the offer.
Like, tell me about the offer. What did you change about the offer that was so noticeable?
So prior to the pandemic, it would be a pretty hard close on a 6-week challenge. And
so you were doing challenges.
Pretty much, right.
Yeah, that's a rough game.
And group training. And, we closed them that day. Well, now it's more of a prescriptive, customized, personalized 7-day onboarding. There's
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot lower barrier to entry, so it's more scalable. It doesn't rely on the talent of closing as much.
Okay.
So that was huge.
So it's easier for your people to sell.
Right, easier to implement.
Do you find the challenges are harder to sell? Long term, not just the initial.
Yes.
Long term?
Because you're selling to the same people that probably bought the Thigh Master in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
They're looking for a quick fix, but they're not invested in fitness.
It's not part of their routine.
Right. So making the onboarding process easier. There was so much rebranding, going all in on who we serve, and that's the longer that we've been in business, the more that we realize that our ideal client is really 35 to 55, probably haven't been in shape since high school and don't really know how to get held accountable, really. And those are the best customers, ironically. And, watching the GSD show over the years, I've learned a lot about demographic and psychographic and a lot. It validated a lot of the reasons why we were going that direction anyways. Mm-hmm. So it was literally like, okay, we're shut down. And if it wasn't for my wife convincing me, no, we can spend 5 times more in rent because we will make this work, back against the wall, there's no other option. So then it was, okay, so how can we go from what used to be a $30, $40 a month gym to now our standard membership's $300 a month.
So 10 times more money per member per month.
That's right.
Right. And also because you're getting a different member, you have ancillary sales that are going to happen a lot easier because the $30 guy's not going to spend as much outside of the membership like the $300 guy would.
Ancillary sales are huge. We sell anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000 a month in ancillary sales, from First Form products to shirts and hats and all that stuff, where prior to the pandemic, it was virtually non-existent.
Yeah. First Form being the supplements. Everybody doesn't know that's Andy Frisella's company, right? I heard good things about him too. Mm-hmm. So how do you sell a $300 person? Apparently you're saying it's easier, by the way. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Mm-hmm. You're saying it's easier to sell a $300 membership than a $30 membership after a challenge. So walk me through it. What's my journey like? How did I even hear about you? Is it a Facebook ad? Is that most likely how I heard about you?
Right.
So I saw a Facebook ad. What's the ad generally calling me into?
So typically it's a 7-day experience,
Okay.
with a different rapper every 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how our offer's doing. But
Got it. Okay, so now I take advantage of the offer. I fill out the form. Either I call you or you call me, correct? And then from there, you're scheduling me to come in.
right.
Are you guys using the credit card to confirm?
Actually, no. Our show percentage, the lowest I've seen in the last 3 months is 61%.
For shows?
Right.
Okay, that's not bad for the industry. But now that we're here and I know that, I'd like you to be closer to 85.
Okay.
So we have some studios. We actually have one. I was looking at the numbers yesterday. It's an I Love Kickboxing studio out in Houston. It's actually the one I was out there for.
Okay, yeah.
100% show ratio. It was 91 leads. It was 41 books, 41 shows, 32 closes.
Wow.
Yeah, but credit cards work.
Yeah.
Yeah, credit cards work because it's just usually it's not that big of a bother, but when you think about it, you're closing pretty well. Your close ratio is probably really good.
Very good, yeah.
Close ratio is good. On top of your close ratio being good, your dollar per sale is good, very good,
Right.
and your retention is probably good because those people are easier to hang on to.
That's
You
right.
probably noticed that.
That's right.
So that means that if you can take your closing or your show ratio from 60% to 80%, that's a 33% increase technically.
Right.
Right? So 33% more people to close at the rate that you're closing, to sell at the dollar that you're selling, and to retain at the retention that you're retaining.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So, side topic. That's the next thing we work on.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I like it.
So, but your show ratio is good. I mean, for the market, it's good, especially right now with everything that's happening. So that's good. So you got people that come in. Once I'm in there, what am I going through? What's my experience?
So you're greeted by my front desk staff. It could be my operations manager Devin. It could be my fitness coordinator Jackie. Just depends on which side of the day you get in there, and it's really a get to know this individual. Most people walk into a fitness facility with all types of barriers. They're scared. They're nervous. They're unsure. And it's just gaining their trust, getting to know what's the main objective, and then showing them the ironed in way. And really, it's a very low pressure layup, is what I call them, because they're there for 30 minutes to talk really about them. And
So is the first 30 minutes is just talking? There's no workout yet?
that's right.
Yeah.
So
what are you going over with me in that 30 minutes?
So we use an intake form, and a lot of times they'll put enough information on there to get the conversation greased up. But we're trained to dig deeper and get to the painful reasons as to why they're there.
Yeah.
And then based off of their schedule, their particular needs, we'll pair them with a coach, and then that coach is gonna schedule their first personal training one-on-one, and really be their liaison to the whole program itself. It's really that dedicated coach that makes the difference.
Good. Now, for everyone listening too, it's very important that we get really good. I think when people start listening to information or reading books, whatever they learn, that's what they're going to do the next day. And it's really important that you understand the differences in, like, okay, what's the lesson I could take from here? Maybe it's not exact. So Billy's gym is not a group class style, right? It's not like where there's going to be 36 people in a class all running from one instructor, right? Running that play.
Used to be, yeah.
Used to be, but now it's not, right? And so those are going to be $99 to $199 memberships. They're not as personalized. These are very personalized. So if you're a $139 group spin class, I don't suggest you spend a half hour with them in the very beginning. But when you're selling programs like Billy's selling, $300, you do month to month, or is there contract?
So it's $69 a week.
$69 a week.
And,
okay.
We ask for 12 weeks minimum, and
There
then
you go. So
it's
it's a 3-month.
30-day notice from there. So it's kind of a 4-month off the jump. And
Right. So about $1,000, right? So when you're doing that, that makes sense to spend that time earlier on, because you're actually closing the sale before you even take them in the gym, or you're selling them before you get in the gym. You're closing them at the end, but you're selling them. They're already pre-sold before they lift their first weight. I'm assuming their mindset's there.
Right.
Yeah?
Right.
Good. So let's go into something that everyone can learn from, okay? When Matt and I did that call, by the way, let me just say this for everyone that's listening. Billy did something that most people don't do, and they should do, and I do it a lot. You looked for people that already had answers, that have already built something that's similar to what you want to build, and you said, what would you do if you were me? How would you do it? And Billy, one thing about this industry, you've probably seen it, the only thing that two trainers can agree on is that the third guy is doing something wrong. Everyone knows what to do. I've been doing it that way for years. Oh, that didn't work for me. You didn't do any of that. You were such a coachable person. You asked incredible questions. When we gave you information, you were taking notes. You were nodding. You were very receptive. And it was actually an enjoyable call. It's like anybody else, right? The people you coach in the gym, it's if they're receptive to it, you enjoy that session. Mm. There's some sessions you can't wait to be over.
Right.
But that was not one of those for me. And so what are some of the things that you took away from that call that, and maybe it wasn't that call that did it, maybe it was books or something else. I have no idea what the switch was, but something happened up here in your mindset that made you go from 40 to 300, or to make you step up and either spend more in marketing or invest more in sales, or whatever the main points were. What was the switch that you said, you would say this was like the biggest impact for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's a culmination of things. I think most entrepreneurs struggle with what to do day to day, moment to moment. Mm-hmm. You know, like you always say, there's a million things that you could be doing, but what's the 1 to 2, maybe 3 things that are really going to move and get you progress, right? So we're 9 years in. I've been listening to the GSD show for half a decade. I've been in LRVT. I've done other programs and had other mentors. A lot of times, the ideas that we have on our own, it can feel pretty lonesome, pretty isolating. So having the opportunity to put your heads together with people that have, like you said, been there and done that, it's almost like the validation, the affirmation that where you're going is good.
It gives you the confidence to execute at 100% level.
That confidence that you otherwise wouldn't have until after the fact. I think that's what I got the most for. It's like, okay, I can do this. I can put my head down and really dedicate myself to a strategy that I've now gotten approval, in a sense, to commit 100% to. And I think a lot of people are missing that.
What about some of the things in the sales process? Are there any things that you've adjusted with scripts, whether it's on the first call or the sales process, as far as, when they're in the door, the closing process, when you're showing pricing, referrals, anything like that, which referrals I know because I made you memorize. Right. We'll talk about that in a second. But talk to me about some of the things that you've adjusted in the sales process that have played a role.
So the simplest thing would be how you answer the phone. Okay?
Sounds simple, but it's the beginning.
It is the beginning, and it's the first impression, which is arguably the most important. Mm-hmm. But how you manage that conversation, that when that phone rings, it's we can reverse engineer the math on it, but for some people, it's probably the better part of $100 for that phone to ring, right? So being able to hit those shots at a high percentage when that phone rings is paramount, man. That's huge.
Right.
And honestly, out of all of the programs that I've been a part of, you'll get a guest register and you'll get, a few systems here and there, but the smallest little detail was never covered. That script was never covered, and it almost felt disingenuous to have something like that, despite the fact that every professional has a script. As silly as it sounds, man, the way that we start that conversation off has probably paid the biggest dividends long term, because you're establishing that relationship.
How do you start that conversation?
So you take control. You ask the questions, because when they're calling, they only know a couple of things, right? They know, one, that you're in the fitness industry,
right?
And they know, two, that you're a for-profit company.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much where the buck stops. After that, there's no common ground other than the weather. So naturally, they're going to reach for the only thing that they know, and that's this is going to cost. This is going to cost something, right? So what we've learned, working with Loud Rumor, is you don't let them get to that point until it's time for that point, which oftentimes isn't until 45 minutes after their second conversation, because they've come in, they've been exposed to the value of the program in its entirety, so that when you drop that $300 a month bomb, it's a no-brainer to them. It's not a...
They thought it was going to be more.
Yeah, exactly.
The perceived value has been raised. Taking the control, for those that may wonder what Billy means by that, he who asks the questions is in control, is leading the call. So what happens is when... And I'm assuming you're using somewhat of the script that we've created. Is something similar to that?
The script.
The script. Okay, yes. So you're using the script. So for everyone listening, the way that most people answer the phone, and most people have been trained by being on the other side. That's it. So let's say if I'm an average business owner, I answer the phone like everyone else does, because when I'm a consumer, that's how everyone else answers. If I call Tony's Pizza to order pizza tonight, Tony's goes, "Thank you for calling Tony's. How can I help you?" If I were to call the barber shop, "Hey, thanks for calling First Choice Barbershop. This is Mike. How can I help you?" If I were to call the deli, "Hey, thanks for calling Joe's Deli. This is Joe. How can I help you?" It's all the same. So we don't even think that there's a formula to that. We just say that's how you answer the phone. Everything after that, we'll take it from there. That's the worst way to answer the phone. The worst way you can answer the phone is obviously there's worse ways. You could say, "What up, jerk?" But like, as far as doing it the right way, it's the worst right way, right? The worst right way is, "Thanks for calling my company name. This is my name. How can I help you?" Because now you've basically said, "Lead me. Tell me what you want from me." And like you said, Billy, and it's true, they don't know what else to do but ask about price. So that's usually the first question. "Yeah, I just want to know how much you guys charge for a membership." Now you're dead in the water. So everyone does what everyone shouldn't do at this point, which is they answer a question with a question because they want to develop value. So if you were to say to me, "Yeah, how much you guys charge for membership?" I, the average business owner, am going to go, "Oh, absolutely, I can help you with that. Have you been here before?" Why does that fucking matter? Or, "Well, it depends. We have different programs. Do you know how many times a week you want to come in?" Why does that matter? Just tell me the programs then. Tell me the 3 options or whatever it is. People know that you're avoiding the answer, but you just asked for what you can help with. I told you what they can help with, and then you're ignoring it and you're going on. If you're going to do that, then just go ahead and do it from the beginning. "Thank you for calling Loud Rumor Fitness. This is Mike. May I ask your name, please?" "Yeah, my name is Billy." "Hey, Billy, how are you doing today?" "I'm doing good. How are you?" "I'm doing great, Billy." "Billy, are you a member of ours?" Right? And then you just follow. Now I'm asking questions. What happens is the prospect, and you've learned this now, the prospect goes in there with the intention, the assumption, unsubconscious assumption that you're going to ask, "How can I help you?" Where his next thing is, "What do you charge for pricing?" Once you don't say, "How can I help you?" and you say, "May I ask your name, Mike?" That's it. His plan's done. Now you're in control, and you're able to ask the questions, and they never get the price. And if they do, they use it in the form of a statement. Have you noticed that?
Right.
So if I were to say, after I asked all the questions, I asked how you heard about us, I asked whatever, all the things in the script, and then I go to the end where I go, "What's the purpose for your call today?" Not "How can I help you?" What's the purpose for your call today? They will say it in a statement. "Yeah, I just want to know what you guys charge for pricing." Now you don't answer a question with a question. Now the reason that's important, a lot of people don't know this, is that everyone has a common pet peeve. There are a few common pet peeves. One of them is when you answer a question with a question. There's no one that likes it. Anyone that likes it, go ahead and comment, message me on Instagram, say, "I actually prefer it." No one likes it. Okay? So now because they said, "I just want to know your pricing," you can take that statement, not question, and you can say, that's perfect. I could definitely help you with that. What else can I help you with while we're on the call?" Yeah, maybe just like how the whole thing works. Absolutely, I could help you with that. Anything else at all? No. Okay, great. So what we charge and how the program works? Yeah, perfect. Well, let's just start with how the program works. You understand it. Fair enough? Yes, great. Now you go into how the program works. Does that make sense? Yeah. You know what? Why don't you come in for a free week? We've got a special or a session or whatever the offer is. They come in, you take it from there. They don't even care about the price because like you said, they think it's a answer that they want right now, but in reality, it just seems like the next best thing to ask.
Right.
Most people don't care about price till they know about the product.
Right.
They want to know what the product is. Then they want to know, okay, now what do I need to do to get this? So I love that you're using that. For the referrals. So Billy, I got to apologize. About a week or two ago, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, I was pretty upset on one of our group calls where all the studio owners were on. Why was I upset? Just so
Well, you had provided a slew of tools that people just weren't using, and these tools can compound your business growth. So I could see where you would get frustrated.
Because 3 weeks in, no one was still memorizing the script to get referrals to the point of sale.
And I was late to that party, right? It's interesting how the whole thing started when I partnered with you guys in the beginning. The very first office hours call I hopped on, and Corbin was there, and he was like, "Oh, Billy," and it was like the day after I just signed up. He's like, "What questions do you got?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm just here to see what's happening," and I misunderstood. So I didn't get back on a call for the most part for months, and then I get thrown to the wolves the first time I really hop in, and I'm glad though. It was awesome. One, being held accountable is something that a business owner doesn't get a whole lot of, so I really cherish that. Learned a lot, and realized that now we have a platform to be coached by people that are way above, but. Needless to say, I didn't have the context. That was my first day back.
So that was you just walked into the tornado,
right? Yeah.
But
I understood.
So I was upset. Everyone listening, I was upset because I had told these guys, look, if you really want to grow, professionals multiply, amateurs add, professionals multiply. If you're just getting a lead and getting a member, you're adding, you're playing small. But if you're getting a lead, you're getting a member, and you're getting referrals to the point of sale, you're now multiplying. You're compounding your return on investment for every dollar that you spend initially. And I think what bothered me is there's so many business owners, you probably see it. You're not one of them, I've noticed. But there's so many business owners that say, I do everything I can. I've done everything I could. No, you did. If you're not memorizing a script that takes it takes less than 2 minutes to run through. The average song that people memorize is 4 minutes long. So if you can't memorize a script, you haven't done everything. And if you're not doing a 2-minute thing, I can't imagine about the bigger things, right? So I basically said in that call, look, you guys have to know this, and I held you accountable just because you happen to be the one that seemed like you would be doing it. I said, Bill, I'm holding you accountable to make sure you know it and get everyone else there. Now, the next call, everyone knew it, which was really good. Everyone knew the script. The referral script. How important has referrals become for you?
Well, it does a lot, right? Because I'm pretty sure everyone's noticed that Facebook is commoditized more, right? There's more competition for eyeballs. The $2, man. Well, the first time we ran a 6-week challenge, we were getting leads for 97 cents.
Amazing days, right?
It was awesome. But now those days are long gone. So if you can do the infinite return, as Mr. Matt Kaffour likes to call it, right? Then now all of a sudden you don't have to spend near as much on paid marketing, and it just opens up a lot more doors. But the infinite return, that's the cool part,
Because you just keep going.
Keep going.
So let's talk about the $300 sale. You are realizing now that there's a lot more profit in that as well.
Right.
So your $70,000 that are you about 70 right now?
We're on pace to this month, I believe, 67-ish or something like that. Yeah.
So $67,000 in revenue is actually more valuable than $67,000 in revenue the old way.
Right.
Because it's more profitable.
Right.
It's probably less exhausting, and you probably have more room in the gym for more business. Right. So what did you have to change about your pitch that you weren't doing before? I know you said you've made it longer, but what are some questions that these are key things I have to ask, or these are key points that I have to hit on in order to make sure that this $300 sale can be done by not just me, but by anyone on the team?
Yeah. So instead of it being you closing that day, the great thing about a 7-day trial is the biggest objection that people in the fitness industry, other than, I got to talk to my wife, is going to be, I need to think about it. Mm-hmm. Because intrinsically, the individual that needs your service has been thinking about it. They're professionals at thinking about it, right? So the great thing with the trial offer is you got 7 days to think about it, Give me 1% of your trust. I'll earn the other 99, right?
Yep.
So that type of sale is something that is easy to transfer. You can have a team do that, right?
I agree. That's pretty good. When it comes to objections too, you've probably learned this by now, but everyone asks me all the time, what do you do when someone says, I need to speak to my spouse? What do you do when someone says, I can't afford it? What do you do when someone says, I need to think about it? Like there's some magic phrase that if you say it, it flips them.
Yeah.
First off, let me just acknowledge that there are some phrases that can increase your odds. But for the most part, you didn't lose the sale there. You lost the sale earlier on. Mm-hmm. The example I give is if McKenna's here. She's married now. But McKenna, do you remember when you were dating? Yeah. It was, 3 years ago? Something like that? 3 years ago when McKenna was dating, she went on some first dates. You had to have. Yeah. Okay. And my guess is there were some dates that you had that were good. And at the end of the date, the guy probably either asked you for, hey, let's go out again or let's do something. And if you said yes, it's not because he asked you in the perfect way. Right. It's because you enjoyed the date all the way through. Right. Now, for all those times that you said no or gave him a reason, an objection that was BS, right? So in our world, I need to speak to my husband. I don't have the money. I can't afford it. In McKenna's world is, oh, well, actually right now I got to help out with my mom with some things, or we're in the transition of moving, or I got some stuff happening with school. I got to really focus. There's stuff like that. Those are the objections in the dating world at your age when you were there, right? So that didn't happen. Those objections didn't come up because McKenna really couldn't make it happen. She was literally on the date right now, so she has time. That objection happened because he lost her earlier.
Yeah.
McKenna, how many times did a date lose you, like, before the drinks showed up?
A few times.
A few times before the drinks showed up. This poor soul is eating dinner with her, thinking this is going great.
Yeah.
She likes me.
Yeah.
We're going to have several dates.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to show my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Poor guy has no idea that she's got school to do after this for the next 10 years.
Right.
Can't make it happen. So the thing I'm basically wanting to break down here, and you and I have gotten a chance to talk about this for everyone else, is every interaction, like you said, that first impression, and then everyone after. Yeah. Everything is either moving you closer to making a sale or moving you further away from making a sale. Right. Nothing is irrelevant in that first interaction. Right now, Ben, who's McKenna's husband, can do some weird thing, and she'd just say he's weird and then just move on and still love him. If he did that weird thing on the first date, there's no second date.
Right. That's the telephone inquiry script, right? The TI script. The dates that went bad in the first 3 to 5 seconds is the same thing. You answer the phone 3 to 5 seconds. Those dates were lost on the TI script.
Everything matters.
Yeah.
And you get that. So I love that you guys have put a lot of attention, a lot of energy into that. What else though? What is another thing that has made a big impact? Give me something solid that people can take away.
Yeah, so there's been times, and I'm sure you guys have all done it too, where you've warranted buying a piece of machinery, equipment. Maybe it's a 5-station multi-stack that was, $10,000 or something. Mm-hmm. So when thankfully we were given a little bit of relief with the PPP program and being able to get back to the drawing board, we invested in knowledge. Loud Rumor was part of that. We also purchased another program where we essentially white labeled our personal training format to where, I talked about it earlier, where we pair someone with a coach. Mm-hmm. But we also purchased basically a campaign, a drip, a sequence of emails and texts that went out through a software up launch. Mm-hmm. And 8 years of contacts that we had were filtered through this process, and roughly a little over 1% of them actually converted.
Okay.
So
That's a lot when you have that many.
it is, yeah. It was something like 72 people after 500 contacts a week for 12 weeks.
So 72 leads or 72 sales
72 sales
at 300 a month.
at 300 a month, and this was right. This all started in November, which was our last $20,000 month, right?
Yeah.
So it was really a combination of a very effective, almost retargeting campaign in a sense, because they're getting emails and texts from people that have already given us their information. We just hadn't utilized that yet, and nurtured 6,000 people to come in for this new program, and it genuinely was new. And nobody's doing what we're doing in the sense of personal coach and one-on-one plus small group.
Yeah.
At least in our area. And so we were able to front load, 72 people at $300 a month, and it was, the right type of people too. They've been familiar with our product in the past. So 72 times.
So let's do this. So what I hear in our marketing world, our circles, is constantly build your list, because every person on your list should be worth $1 a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. So you said you had 8,000, should be 8,000 a month, but you sign up 72 people times 300.
Yes.
21,600. Right. So you are getting on average about almost $3 per month per person on that email list. So you've actually made better out of it. Mm-hmm. So constantly use that list. Yeah. We actually were you working with us during Black Friday, that whole Thanksgiving weekend?
See, I just hit the ground.
Okay.
So I didn't. Yeah.
We run crazy promos. So the average business we work with that we're running the promo, we're doing like 31,000 in that weekend.
Yeah.
That weekend.
Wow.
We show you how to do it. So make sure coming around this year,
absolutely,
you're with us paying attention on how we do that one part.
Right.
Because we'll make you 25 to 40,000 that weekend. Probably more now because you got a bigger list.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool?
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love that. Use your lists.
For sure, for sure.
You were down to some pretty low dollars, some unprecedented times with unpredictable endings. We couldn't really tell when this thing was going to end, especially there was a point where we were like, how long is this going to go?
Yeah.
Why'd you keep going?
Because there was no other option.
Well, there were. Quitting was an option.
For the record, there's nothing wrong with working at Home Depot, guys. There's nothing wrong.
I put that at the bottom.
Yeah, I would be so honored if I could manage a place like that. But it was just me saying, I genuinely didn't know if I was going to have to go back to work, and I haven't worked for another person in over a decade, 15 years or something, right? So that was that point. But go ahead. I think I cut you off.
Well, I was just saying, why did you keep going? You say there's no option, but that's not true. That may be what was in your head.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of options. One of them's quitting.
Yeah.
One of them's asking people for money. Mm-hmm. Another one's getting a job somewhere. Mm-hmm. Another one's moving in with people. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of options you had. Why did you keep going on the path that you went on? I mean, so many fitness studio owners just quit and said, "Why am I wasting my time?"
Yeah.
Why didn't you feel that way?
I'm not afraid to admit that I did at one point. When we were closed and I was doing the phone sales for virtual, and it was just there was one week I had 72 calls, two of them answered, and I think it was the same week we got a notice that instead of having 3 or 4 months to move out, we needed to do it within less than a month, a few weeks. And I remember being in our office at the house, and for all intents and purposes, I was ready to throw in the towel, and my wife said, "No, we got to keep looking. We got to keep looking," and found this property, and you saw how quirky that property is.
Yeah.
Well, it also happens to be literally 5 times more than what we were paying while we were bleeding out.
Why don't you describe the property, and we'll show B-roll to support it.
It's 2 separate buildings. One's a 3,000 square foot warehouse with 1 roll-up door, no windows, no AC. The other is a 2,500 square foot attorney's office.
and what's surrounding the entire compound?
Barbed wire fence.
Why?
Good question. You know, the person that leased it before me actually had some pretty nice classic cars stored in that warehouse, and maybe that's part of it. But you know, other than logistics, the fact that it's on a high traffic street and it was a mile from where we were, and that's the other issue too. It's like we're building a new location. We can't commit to anything longer than 12 months, and we can't go any further than three miles. There was just nothing out there but this astronomically expensive property. But we had been toting two business models for a long time: the DIY, do-it-yourself, access to equipment member, and group training, personal training member. And it wasn't until I realized. Is it Solid Rock Training? There was an episode.
Yep, Bob Algard.
Okay.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite episodes because I can relate to it quite a bit. The demographic that he serves is very comparable to what we do. And it was like, look, let's do that. And that's the only way, you know, instead of 30, it's got to be 300. And man, without the support, you know, without the support of your family and the coworkers that we had, still, you know, they believed in us. They believed in my wife and me. And
your wife's awesome, by the way.
I couldn't let them. Thank you. Yes. Without her, I mean, she saved my life. You know that. I told you that story, right? She saved my life.
She was the first one to comment on your post saying how proud she is of you.
Oh man, yeah, and yeah, without her, this doesn't even, it doesn't happen because I was ready to just say, you know what, maybe I will go manage a store somewhere or something, but she said, no, we're not closing. We're doing this. So I said, all right, well, if we're doing it, we're going to do everything. And I told her too, right after we partnered with Loud Rumor, I said, you know, there's no other place to go. Like there's no higher, you know, service in this industry that I'm aware of that's going to help us get to this. So this has to work. There is no other option. And, you know, being with the back against the wall, it's pretty cool what you can do when you absolutely have to, and you have a 4 or 5 year old that you have to support, and coworkers that are relying on you, and your wife is telling you can do it. And then you've got all the tools at your disposal. It's just go in there and do it. So, you know, at that punchline where it said your manager essentially just quit, what do? Well, you do everything. You literally absorb all of the information. You apply all of the scripts. You get there at 5 a.m. You get home at 9 p.m. And what was cool was we reset our business model. We kind of distilled and reinvented ourselves. But my wife and I got to be in the trenches, answering the phones, doing the consults, doing the training. I still train because my heart's in it. You know, I've got clients that I love. Mm-hmm. My wife still trains because right now our bottleneck's hiring.
Yeah, a lot of people's are.
Yeah, and she loves training as well. She's a great coach, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to take our best coach out of there. But it turned out to be the biggest advantage because when I was ready to scale and bring people in, I had already had the reps again that I hadn't had. You know, we're 9 years in. Mm-hmm. So I hadn't, other than the sales, I hadn't really had a whole lot of time inside our operating systems and scheduling appointments and nurturing those leads and doing all those things. But I was able to get those reps in, but get them the right way so that when we did bring on new staff, like Devin, or we trained Jackie into a new position and made her sales, more sales oriented, it was so easy to transfer that information. It was fresh, mm-hmm. You know, like I might not be the best at the telephone inquiry script right now, but I knew it like the back of my hand then and was able to train her. So it was like a rebirth. I don't know. You just have to do it.
You do. You have to put the work in. And I've had to do it a few times in my business. You know, we started in the recession, And then we niched to fitness, and that was another world where I had to dive in. And then this pandemic, like these are moments where I had nights where I didn't sleep, and but you're right. I mean, that's what your team is expecting you to do. Mm-hmm. They're not even wondering if you'll do it. Mm-hmm. They're not going to ask you to do it.
Right.
They're just assuming this has to. Yeah, it's your job.
Yeah.
When shit hits the fan, and you did it. And a lot of people don't realize how important that is, not just for your team, but for yourself, for your family. Your wife supported you because she knew you can do it. And she knew you can do it because she's seen you in those moments in the past. From what I understand, you've died like 3 times, haven't you?
Yeah.
Is it 3?
Yeah. Well, it was one occasion where my heart stopped 4 times, something like that.
Yeah. And you're still here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so important for people's families and the people that work for those leaders to watch them go through stuff, because that builds strength and confidence for the future.
Yeah.
Because there will be harder road. This isn't your last hill.
Right.
It may not even be your biggest hill. We all hope it is, but it may not. But even if the hill is twice as big, you're twice as strong. So it's going to feel manageable to you and to your wife and to everyone supporting you. So good work, man.
For sure. And just to kind of elaborate on that a little bit, I'm not a cocky individual by any means, but having gone through that, there's this almost like an aha moment. And you've trained mixed martial arts, sports. Mm-hmm. When you're taught a technique that you drill over and over, and of course you're terrible at it, you're never good at something the first time you do it. But when you do it when it's the most necessary, you're about to get tapped out and you sweep the guy and lock in a Kimura for the first time, now all of a sudden,
clicks.
And when you leave that training environment and you go out into the real world, you feel almost like you would if you were carrying a weapon on you. Like you can do it. You have it.
It's like a new vision.
It is.
It's like you hear about people that are colorblind and they put on those glasses and they could see colors for the first time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that's with anything, even with instruments. If you were playing an instrument, it's like weird until all of a sudden you're like a click happens. You're like, I understand this. I understand the way the instrument plays.
Right.
You're learning a new language. Oh, wait, I'm understanding how these words are connecting now. Mm-hmm. Or like, remember algebra? Like all of a sudden, like something clicks. You're like, oh, wait, I understand how this works. And it's like you see it different and you can't unsee it anymore.
Right.
But that only happens when you cross the hill.
Yeah. And that's powerful. And that's the biggest reward that we have right now is now I know. I mean, I can do it. There's nothing I can't do. I will do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Your dad, how old's your kid?
5.
5? He's going to get more out of this than you will.
Yeah.
My dad worked 18 hours a day. My mom worked probably 15 hours, but then she came home and worked by cooking dinner and cleaning the house and all that stuff. My brother and I don't understand what it's like. Like when we work 10 hours, and it's not right, by the way. I don't think this is just my brain. Mm-hmm. When I work 10 hours, I feel like I'm taking a day off. I've got to reframe that for some days because I've had to work on that because I've wanted to be, more involved. Now I'm with my kids a lot more and I'm coaching and all that. But I still get this bug in my ear where I'm like, man, I only did 7 or 8 hours today. Yeah. And it's a problem. But at the same time, it's not a problem because I'd rather have that and have to force myself to really think about, hey, sometimes it's okay to work 7 or 8 hours in a day, as opposed to put in 4 or 5 and going like, when's this day going to be over? Like that's, I hear that from people. I remember I worked at 22 jobs before I started this company, and I'd hear people say that, and I wouldn't get it. They're like, when's this day going to be over? I'm like, it's 11:30. Like, what are you talking about? Like, we just got here. We got a long way to go. And so your son, by watching you the way you work, your resilience, the way you think about work, the things that you don't complain about. I saw some of the comments on your post. One guy goes, and you didn't complain once. That right there, your kids don't do what you tell them to do. They do what they see. You didn't teach your kid to walk. Neither did your wife. Think about it. Did you really teach him to walk, or did you just hold your arms out and give him a target? Yeah. He walked because he saw you walk. How many times you see your kid answer? And it's not instinct. Because how many times you see your kid hold up a fake phone and go, hello? You taught him to say that? Or is he just watching you?
Right.
So your kids just watch you. And you're setting some really good examples for the next generation, man.
I appreciate that.
What's next? What's the big goal?
So, we've got that location that we've been building for almost 5 years now. It's been a nightmare, but I actually got some good news yesterday. We should be resubmitting to the city next week. And we'll transplant from that quirky spot to, a place built more to suit our permanent home. And then, man, I wish I had an answer. I know I want to. When I was bodybuilding, I helped myself. When I was coaching, I helped dozens of people. Mm-hmm. When I was owning a gym, I helped hundreds, now thousands of people. Mm-hmm. So how can I help more? That's the question I want answered. And what that is, I don't really know for sure. I don't know if that's another location.
Could be.
Yeah.
You've got it in you. Mm-hmm. The next step for you is, how do I duplicate this? You like mentoring people. Mm-hmm. Remember, sometimes it's not how many people you help. Sometimes how many people get helped because of you. Mm-hmm. Two different things. So you can help 1,000 people, or you can help 10 people that have helped 100 people each. Mm-hmm. It's very different, right? So if, let's say, you were to build another location, you mentor some of those leaders to really have that drive and really know the right things to do when they take on another location, and they're helping transform these lives and get healthier, get more focused, get more productive in their day because they're more fit. Mm-hmm. And you have 5 locations, 10 locations, 15 locations. And also remember how far the ripple goes. That a lot of people need to see how much impact you've made. I don't think I care so much. I believe that like McKenna, I know I've helped her in some ways, but I also believe that some of the things that I may have helped her with may actually help her son, right? Think about certain things a different way, or her daughter down the road when she has a kid. And who knows if that guy helps 10,000 people? I may never know that. It may never tie to me. Mm-hmm. I don't care. It's volume. It's like working out, right? It's all about volume. Mm-hmm. You can help 10 people extraordinarily well, or you can help 1,000 people kind of.
Right.
Just do your best to be a good person, keep doing good work and setting good examples. And I don't think God or the universe or whatever you believe in is going to expect anything more from you.
Yeah.
Don't put this pressure on yourself to do more. As far as quantity, what you're doing is volume, and it's good. You don't need a lot of people that you see. Does that make sense?
It does.
I don't even know if my way of thinking is right. That's just the way I believe.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that.
I want to continue following your journey. You post on Instagram quite a bit, don't you?
Started to, yeah.
Where can people follow you to see how Iron Dan and Billy continue to grow and flourish?
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's kind of an ode to when I was competitive in bodybuilding. So it's Billy Jackhammer. Yeah. But Iron Dan's socials, Facebook, all the normal places, I guess.
Awesome. And we'll have you on the show at the next milestone.
That'd be awesome.
And are you coming to GSD Con?
Absolutely.
February 22nd, 2022?
Man, wouldn't miss it, yeah.
What a date. 2/22/22. If you guys can't remember that, then you're going to have real big problems with the script.
It's interesting because I actually saw you in person the first time at a summit that another mentorship program I was a part of had you come and speak at.
Okay.
And there was easily 1,000 people in that group. I was telling the wife the other day, I was like, out of all those people, here we are. It's kind of it's humbling to say the least. And I don't know that I gave any new information today, but if I can inspire someone to take advantage of some of the tools that you have at your disposal, and then it's all about application.
Yeah. Big takeaways that I got from today, so is number one, being able to flip a mindset of 30 to 300. A lot of people have a hard time with that. Yeah. And 30 to 300 is representing a lot of things. Like for me, going from Loud Rumor used to help everyone to now just focusing on fitness. Drastic change.
That was part of why I went, all in on coaching people instead of offering equipment. Riches in the niches.
Riches in the niches, right?
For sure.
And so, but that's a drastic change. And so somebody that's on the fence about going from 30 to 100 goes, well, shit, if you can go from 30 to 300, maybe I should think about that.
Yeah.
So you're opening people up to the idea of a drastic change not only can sometimes be good, but can be easier than you think, and actually easier than if you didn't go on. If you just stayed on that road, this is easier.
Right.
Right. So I took away that as well. I took away your drive to constantly learn, right? You listen to the GSD show for 5 years. You're going through LRVT. You said, I'm using your script, right? And the coaching you got from Matt and stuff you learned from, you were at a conference with 1,000 people where you first heard me speak.
Right.
So, and you're going to GSD Con. If anyone hasn't picked up on the fact that you are a student for life,
Yep.
then they're not paying attention, right? And I think that's a big thing people need to remember. I don't care how successful you are. The most successful people that I've interviewed, people that are doing, I interviewed, I think money-wise, the most successful is this guy, Jordan Zimmerman. His company does $4.4 billion. Actually, no, Naveen Jain did $8 billion, right? So billionaires, these are the guys that read the most. They're reading 2 hours, 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
You'd think they know what to do by now.
Right.
So when you meet somebody that's only doing $20,000, $30,000 a month, and they don't have time to read, but they know about Ozark and what's happening, that just shows that you always have more to learn, and
Right.
you figured that out. You've realized why you're going to these events, you're reading these books, you're doing all this stuff, right? Andy Frisella, I'm assuming you've listened to his podcast. I know you said you listened to Joe's, so I picked up that as well. And then also resilience and the importance of having a good team around you, good people. Maybe you don't have a strong spouse like you have, but making sure you have a good team. And here's the deal. You're only going to have a good team, whether that's personal or business, if you're a good person.
Yeah.
Real, recognize real, right? So if I can read that you're not a good person, I'm probably not going to be there.
Right.
If I can believe you're a good person, I'll always be there.
Right.
So you have good people in your life for a reason. So kudos to you. So I think there's a lot of takeaways here, Billy.
Yeah.
And I appreciate them.
You said something about support, and maybe people out there listening, they're not married, they don't have something like that yet. But like I said before, being an entrepreneur is pretty isolate. It's lonely at the top, because where do you get your accountability? But I would say get immersed into a group of people that are doing what you're doing. And create an accountability format. And shout out to Corbin for because there was a really, we talk about some of the light bulbs or pivotal times, and it was how we deliver our service. We come from a bodybuilding background, and we were in the middle of functional training at its peak, with F45 and Orange Theory and all those things. And when we were group training and creating a membership that could warrant that $150, $160 a month, it almost felt like a knee-jerk reaction to go where everyone else is going.
Yeah.
And Corbin almost gave me the right away to no, why don't we take a look at this? Why don't we,
When they zig, you zag.
Yeah. And for me, it was like telling an Italian restaurant they can serve lasagna, like it was what we do anyways, and no one else is doing it. And since then I've run, full tilt with that, and I've had other leaders in the industry. I think I told you I got to talk to that Validified, how cool that is. So that was a big deal too,
Awesome.
Yeah.
Billy, I'm so glad that I'm not just in your ear, that now you're in your own ear. You listen to this episode too now.
So cool. So humbling.
So thanks so much for coming down, and
Absolutely.
we'll have to have a recap episode with you, and maybe we'll do it outside of GSD Con walls, because I know we're going to probably be doing some of those. So
That would be cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks
Awesome.
again for coming
Thank
in,
you
man.
so
I
much.
appreciate it. For everyone
Absolutely.
watching, for everyone listening, thanks so much for tuning in. We got Rockstar Billy Jones here in the house from Houston, and we will see you next week.